some of the things to make it work.
And then once that's done,
And start video. There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
morning, can you hear us?
Good morning, everyone. Are we ready to start rolling?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. The internet connection in here has been pretty unstable. And I know that. And they've been checking in with the IT guys to see if we can figure something out.
Okay, are we ready to go?
So Bob, we are, Bernie, we have not heard from Bernie, so we don't know if he's gonna be able to make it or not today.
Okay.
And we may need to, turn off our camera from time to time when it says that the internet connection is unstable. So just giving you a heads up there.
Okay, mine is working, so I'll just be sitting here until we get this all done. Okay, I think it's time. I should just go ahead and call this meeting to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been given to and posted and given to the media so that in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order, and we'll worry about Bernie as things happen here. Roll call shows we need Bernie. But we don't need is the wrong word. He's right now not here, correct? Correct. It's time to review and accept the agenda.
Correct.
Is there a motion to?
Motion, Dave.
Thank you. And a second. There's a motion and a second to accept the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It looks like we've done that part. And the previous meeting minutes, the minutes of September the 13th. We need a motion for that.
I will accept.
Motion to accept and the second. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. I presume you guys are saying aye. I can't quite hear.
Yeah.
Okay, we're down to correspondence. Seeing none. Okay, we're going to move on to outreach extension or program reminders from or announcements from staff.
I have no specific announcements other than the updates that were provided by the educators in their packets. So if you review review the packet with the updates, and if anybody has any questions, you can either let me know or reach out to the educators directly, and we will provide feedback or answers.
Okay, we're down to educator reports, starting with Jessica.
All right, can I have the mouse? Is that
Yes.
all right?
Yep.
All right, I'm just gonna share screen, Bob. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Awesome, you're very welcome. Let me get set up here. I'm gonna share with you guys what I have been doing with the city of Clintonville. Hey, Christy, welcome. I'll move over here. Because this is really the kickoff to a pretty large, long-term process that I'll be working on with them. And what happened, the background of this is over the past several years, the city of Clintonville has commissioned a couple of different plans. One of those plans was a market analysis, which is a very typical thing for a community to do. It helps you determine what kinds of businesses would actually work in your downtown or in your community. And then the other one was a regional plan, which is also another typical thing a community might do, where it helps you understand where your strengths are and where some of those amenities are. So that's where things like river walks and city squares and places for people to gather come up in those kinds of plans. And then sometimes other things that are intangible, like time development plan might have something in it about helping the small businesses in the area with things like customer service. So the city has commissioned a couple of these connections unstable. That looks like it's doing okay again. So the city had commissioned a few of these plans, and of course, in the midst of all of that, they also did a community-wide survey. I wasn't involved in any of that stuff. They took care of all of that before they called me. The Dave Teal, who retired recently, he was the executive director of the Waupaca Development Corporation. He had been talking with and Evelyn, who was the city administrator, who also just announced her departure. I promise. So the two of them had been talking, and they really felt like moving forward with anything of those plans that the city had commissioned, moving forward was going to really require us. It needed to move forward, really needed to come from the community. In part because the city of Clintonville has had some hard wanted the community to work together on this. And so they said we should bring extension in and have them kind of be this neutral third party that can kind of start to pull people together. So we worked on a process for how we were going to do that. And it started with kickoff a few weeks ago, the end of September, Monday night, we met at the Hope. I'm hoping that you guys don't mind this. I'm going to start out by having you guys do something that I asked the team to do. It's because there's a couple of you I don't know here very well. I've seen you quite a bit. When we did our introductions, we just said our name, and in this case, we'll say our community, that the community that we live in, and then one or two words that your friends would use to describe you. So I'll start. My name is Jessica. I work in Waupaca County. I cover the entire county. I graduated from Manawa High School.
I see you're back. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, we should be good.
I can hear you now.
I went to Bear Creek High School. Years younger than me.
Did she go to Clintonville too?
She went to Clinton.
Ah, she might know my mom. Susan Lord would have been her name. So anyway, sorry.
Ken Yeager, I graduated in 1969. I lived in Manilow until I was 18, 19, moved out. Lived in the London area, township from Waupaca for over 40 years. But I'm an old bulldog.
Hey, I get my first school was in London.
Wolf originally, but now I'm a bulldog.
So how would your friends describe you? One or two words?
Oh,
Helpful. And how about you, Dick? I don't think we got to that. How would your friends describe you? One or two words?
Friendly.
Friendly. Yep. Helpful. What? So we have stuff in common as well. I had a owned like that, there was that salvage yard on the Ameris, and we had a used car dealership.
my dad probably needed a dog.
Yeah, possibly. Let's see, my grandfather was Kenny Roberts, and he hung out at Bucky's all the time. Yeah, my dad was Leo, so is Leo.
I'm Dennis Wingalski. I graduated from Mosinee High School in 1969 and UW-Madison in 73.
What did you go to school for?
What?
What did you go to school for?
Finance and management. I
Okay.
got a job in Clintonville with Farm Credit Services, which I worked there for 34 years till I retired.
Wow.
And I live in the town of Larrabee, which is adjoining Clintonville. So
Oh, great. You're gonna be familiar with a lot of the stuff I say. How would your friends describe you?
quiet.
Quiet? Okay. Sandy?
Yeah, I'm Sandy. I guess I'm the autumn and I grew up in Canada, in Ohio. And nerdy.
Nerdy?
You've lived in the Yeah, I've been in Ohio for a long time. Wisconsin for 8 years.
Oh, and Chrissy.
We're having some theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to stream a meeting
I'm
and
glad I started this way because it's not something that has to.
Just one, please. Is one internet better than the other? Or it's no, it's that.
Yeah.
My name is Christy Gabrielska. I went to school in 2008, and I've been living in Waupaca County since coming back from La Crosse, where I went to school. But I just recently moved out of the county and we're in Missionary County now. Just barely. Just barely. Over, yeah. Over the line.
I guess it won't matter.
Some of the road is Webby Fremont School District, and the other road is Wilder School District. So, yeah.
And I'll admit, I also don't live in the county, but as you heard, I have roots here, and I've been and my mother-in-law lives half a block from us, so we decided to stick around and help take care of her. So, and Chris.
Yeah, I am a resident of Clover, so, and I would say my friends would describe me as thoughtful.
And you've been with Extension for a long time.
19 years.
Yeah. And how long have you been this I know we're having some internet trouble, and I can pause here in a second. The thing we just did isn't critical for everyone to be hearing, so I started that way because, well, for one thing, we learned some things about each other that we didn't know before. We learned about some connections that we might have that we didn't know about before. And that's why I wanted to start that way with Clintonville, because part of this project is building relationships in the community. Yeah.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah.
The Clover area,
Yeah,
you know, where they used to be the downtown, that's pretty much disappeared. And what we developed, where it was nothing. It's really something.
yes,
Wow.
agreed.
Thank you so much.
Do we still have that water park?
Appreciate it.
No,
No.
that slide moved over here,
Oh, it did.
over here. Strongwood building, where that used to be the water slide go-kart. That water slide came from Clover, and then they moved it over here. And then what happened, there was a water slide, really nobody was here.
I think I remember that.
Rainbow
It was like
Falls.
Rainbow Falls,
Rainbow
yeah.
Falls.
That
We
place
used
was
to go-
fantastic.
Yeah, when I was going to school in Manawa, my friends and I, that was like one of the things that you could do on a weekend that was, close by. So we ran over there. Hi, Penny. Okay.
Some of the slides are.
Is it, yeah, is it going okay now?
Hey, Bob, just an FYI, we did get a wired connection, so we should have improved connectivity for the rest of the meeting. We'll just try to talk loud to make sure you can hear.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was hard to understand what people were saying before. Now things seem much better.
Yep,
Good.
understood, thanks.
So Bob, tell us your name and where you live in the county or out. And one or two words that your friends would use to describe you.
Goofy, maybe would accomplish that. I've lived in Waupaca since 1986. Prior to that, I went to New Trier High School in Winnetka, Illinois, and went on to Miami University, Oxford, Ohio, the original Miami. Miami is named after the Miami Indians and the Miami River, and the original Miami is in Ohio. The state of Florida wasn't a state. It belonged to Portugal when Miami was founded. So Miami outdates the state of Florida by 40 years. So that's kind of what I always have to make that explanation to folks, because people think you came from Florida. And the answer is no. Ohio is the original Florida, if you will, or however you want to put that.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to sharing our screen here. Thanks, Bob. Oh, and Penny, let's do you really quick. Your name, where you live, and one or two words your friends would use to describe you.
I am Penny Tank. I live in New London and grew up in West Bend. And organized and kind.
Yes, I would also describe you that way. Bob, something we have in common is I describe myself as goofy also, so we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Okay.
So what happened was when we were going around the room and I was asking them to introduce themselves, I didn't have them tell me their location. We just did that for our benefit today. What I had them tell me was why they're there that night. Why did you come to this meeting? And I wasn't intending on capturing any of the comments, but as they started talking, I realized, oh, wow, they're saying all the things that they want for their community. And so I captured what those were. And what came up repeatedly was, of course, they want Clintonville to thrive. They want growth and development. One really important thing was better rhetoric. They mentioned I guess there's a term that people use, like Kentucky, I think it might be, to use to describe their own community, and that you use it in a really derogatory way. And so they want people to speak better of their community. So they're hoping that through a process like this and through improvements in their downtown, that they might be able to elicit some of that. They want some changed perceptions. A lot of people say that there's nothing here. And yet, if you go around the community, you actually see that Clintonville has a lot going on in their downtown. There's a lot of stores and a lot of variety. But there are some empty spaces. And so it can lead to a perception that there isn't really anything happening. They want the businesses looking nicer. They'd like to see a no vacancy sign in the downtown. So they want all of their storefronts filled, which is a common goal. They want to see an increase in population in the downtown. So they're talking about maybe some living arrangements that are in the downtown. Help for revitalizing buildings, sorry for the typo. And so what that was referring to is that revitalizing a building, when you own a building in a downtown, it's very expensive and it's very time consuming to revitalize a building. So they're looking for help with that. Help for the businesses in a variety of ways, and then some clean downtown. So what we talked about next is what do they think hinders the downtown from reaching its potential? All of the stuff you see on the left, I'm not going to read through all this, I promise. All the stuff you see on the left is stuff that came from those plans I was telling you about. So there was that revitalization plan and the market analysis. And anything that has a star by it, which is everything except for that last bullet, everything with a star on it is basically what all the other communities, small communities across the state and probably across the US are dealing with right now. And so what that means is we're going to need a variety of people to come together to be as innovative as possible, because everyone is dealing with these things. We're not going to be able to just grow our population the ways we used to. We're not going to be able to capture market share or do the kinds of retail even that we used to be able to do. So we need to come together and be creative about it. So what was really cool is that even though the list on the left is really long, when I asked everyone in the room to share their other hinders, and maybe this isn't really cool, the other things that hinder the downtown from reaching its potential, they came up with an equally long list. But the part, I said this is really cool. That's not the cool part. The cool part is that when you see the next slide, when we talk about what helps the downtown reach its potential, they came up with an even longer list of other helps. So I had to actually increase the size of the green box for the next slide. Any questions about this? Does anything here surprise you? I'll move on to helps. You can interrupt me anytime also. So then we asked, of course, what helps the downtown reach its potential? And again, all the stuff on the left, Olin Park, Pigeon River, all of those things are things that came up in the plans. So the professionals kind of pulled that together along with some input from the community in the community survey. And I will say, I was going up there having one-on-one conversations with people for several weeks. And so I was going up there, walking the downtown, experiencing it, going in and meeting people. And I noticed all of the things on the left that they mentioned and a lot of the things on the right that they mentioned. But the thing that I found really unique about Clintonville is just how walkable everything is. It's if you're able to walk, it's very walkable. But then when you look, if you go back to the other slide, one of the mentions of what hinders the downtown is that there is a little bit of an accessibility issue. And so, so if you're unable to walk, it's not so walkable for you. So that's something that they're working on. And the city is already actively working on it. And so then again, I asked them to come up with what else, what isn't already here, what else helps the community. So community events were huge. They said that those really have been helpful to the community. And the fact that industry is located so close to the downtown, we've got some really good, robust industry there with Walker Forge and the converting, creative converting, and oh my gosh.
Overdrive.
Yes.
Secret.
Thank you. So, any questions about this one?
said a strong point is restaurants. The other morning I was going for early labs.
There is no.
Yeah,
There's just one restaurant open that serves breakfast. Nobody,
yeah.
you know, there's no, it's sad.
So was that restaurant, Bluebird? Yeah, so the person, the Bluebird Cafe person was in the room that night. And what she was referring to when they talked about this restaurants is that, she notices a lot of out of town people coming in there.
We go to Marion for breakfast.
Yeah, yeah, right. But I will tell you that as I was going around the town, one of the things that came up, both in the market analysis, it said that they could probably sustain some more restaurants. But also what was coming up when I was talking with people is that there aren't enough, like there's tons of fast food. There's enough, maybe not tons, but there's enough fast food in the community. But there isn't a lot of like sit down restaurants. So that's a theme. That's a theme.
That is a problem, but
Yeah.
they do not. That's the biggest complaint I get.
Yeah.
Since Jerry's closed up, they don't have a place. to eat. So people are traveling.
You know, the groups of
Yeah.
older men and stuff go to Marion or, you know, someplace
Yeah.
else for breakfast. But Jerry's is supposed to be opening up, but that sign's been there for coming soon for over a year already. So.
I will say I did have lunch at Harakeo, and it was very, very delicious if you like Mexican food.
Oh,
But that's not in the downtown for sure, but it's not too far. Yeah, delicious. It looks like a little dive, but it is really good. Okay, so then we went through, okay, so what opportunities did the existing plans come up with? And these are all the opportunities that were in the plans. So you can see down at the bottom right, it says possible restaurants and some specialty retail. But a lot of it was about supporting existing businesses and growing businesses from within the community, because in the plans, the people, they felt as though most of the new businesses that open in Clintonville are probably going to come from people who live around the Clintonville area. And so if there's some support for entrepreneurs in that area to come and take some of those empty storefronts, that might be a good thing to do. So opportunities, one of the things that came up was age diversity. This is happening everywhere across the US. People are having fewer kids, our population is aging, and there's wonderful things about that, and there's also challenges. What some of the things that starts to happen is when you don't have like affordable housing, for instance, then sometimes the younger people can't even afford to move into your community. And so there's a lot of, it's very complex problems, which is why we need a variety of people to come together, put our heads together and figure out how we're gonna address it. And then this is the last thing. One of the last things we did was, of course, I turned it over to them and said, what opportunities do you see that aren't already listed? And they came up with a lot of other opportunities they see. Very specific ones, like a splash pad too, even.
Manawa got one, so.
Did they? Oh, I have to say, Manawa comes up a lot it came up a lot this night, and it comes up a lot in conversations when I'm talking with other communities about the downtown, so.
They have a nice new little park by the pond with a splash pad.
And so what we did was we took everything that they came up with here and everything that was in this slide. And I had them printed out so that they didn't have to look at the screen the whole time. And then I asked each group, I put them into groups and I said, talk amongst yourselves and figure out no more than 3 priorities. We're not going to lose the rest of the stuff, but this is just, what are we going to do next? What do you guys think we need to start with? And so this is the short list so far. It doesn't mean that that when the committee gets together, they might investigate some of these things and realize that it's not the right time to deal with them, and that's okay. But this is for us to start to get a place for the committee to start looking. And so wayfinding came up 3 times out of 4 groups. It came up 3 times. And the rest of these facade improvements, activities and events, that was both supporting existing activities and events and creating some new ones. Defining some of the downtown character and building in some downtown character was important. These aren't in any order except for wayfinding, because all the others were mentioned only once. Yeah, and even again, specific like the dog park. I'm not sure where you put that in the downtown, but I'm sure it would be nearby. And so this slide has old information on it. But basically the next steps are, after that meeting, we just had this Saturday, I did a live streamed meeting where I went over the information. I just went over with, and I gave people an opportunity to sign up to be on the committee if they wanted to. And our committee meeting, the first committee meeting is going to be November 10th in the evening. And that's where we're going to begin kind of the process of figuring out where to go next in Clintonville. So I'm going to stop sharing here so that we can see Bob's beautiful face. Okay. And do you guys have any questions about what I just went through? It's
It's a big job.
gonna be a long process.
Yes.
Interesting. And I was thinking, going along, my wife and I moved from Analog. Oh, that's kind of vibrant, but you know, like the winemaker's daughter, that place, that's for sale now.
Yeah,
It's a shame.
it closed over
It
the
is,
summer.
and we're just thinking because of COVID, I'm sure that's a lot of it. It had been tough for any business to survive this, you know, economics of.
They were already closed and only opening for special events
For a while.
pre-COVID, yeah. But they were still open. But if I was a business, I would be more willing to risk opening a business next to those 2 or 3 really beautiful storefronts and businesses, you know, knowing that you've already got that going for you.
Yeah.
I make a trip to Manawa just to go to the shops and coffee shop.
Is there a coffee shop open?
I heard that it-
I want to be in sarcastic.
Yeah.
Because I know the restaurant closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a coffee, in the same side of the street as Winemaker's Daughter, down there's 2 other shops, and then a coffee shop and lunch kind of cafe. They are selling, I don't know if there'll be a period where they're closed, but I know the current owners were retiring and someone else is purchasing the business, and it is going to remain a coffee shop and a sandwich shop.
That's great. It's really hard. You know, you have to sell a lot of coffee to make a profit, and you know that it takes community support for a place like that to be located in a community like Manawa, or even Cliffville as well. And I think what's one of the things that's really important to note is that all of those things that you saw, like all those things that hinder downtown from succeeding, are happening everywhere. And it's, you know, going to be a challenge to support the kind of support that small businesses need. It's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge to you know, with changes in demographics. Just there's a lot of challenges coming that are already happening, and we're starting to see the evidence of. But you know, we're a really creative people, and we can think of ways to do things differently, and that's what we're going to need to start doing.
I have a comment. You know, I'm kind of a handy guy. But, I really missed it when the True Value happened. I missed it when they closed in London. I don't know what's in Clintonville. See, people have, yeah, well, but you got for older appliances and stuff, where they had this old inventory. Maybe it's out of your wall view, but it used to be a coast to coast in London.
Yeah.
They had everything. Okay. It has Ford Electric, they had everything. You know, now London Bill and Supply has a True Value. You have a very nice supply of stuff, and you're fixing stuff. It's unbelievable what a True Value. And Fleet Farm doesn't carry that stuff. I'm just trying to think of a way.
Yeah, one of the trends, because I didn't go through them one by one, I didn't mention this, but one of the trends that's happening that hinders a community's, a downtown and frankly, a community's ability to succeed in retail and business is that retail is trending toward consolidation and regionalization. And so with Clintonville being so close to Shawano, for example, it is a challenge. It would be a challenge, you know, in Clintonville, but if you spend some time in Clintonville and go through slowly, you'll see that there's a lot going on, but there isn't a true value, right? There's Torberg's, which doesn't have all the things like you mentioned. You know what? I didn't see, it doesn't mean it isn't there. I didn't see a place where you can get appliances at all, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It's not there, okay?
When
So-
the little towns do well, we all like it.
Yes,
Well, you don't have the big families that you did years ago. Like I come from a family of 11, my
Yeah.
neighbors had 9, 10. Well, Simcoe School was full. Simcoe supported 2 grocery stores.
Yeah.
2 grocery stores and 3 bars. Huh?
yeah.
And we had a roller skating rink
I'm sure there were some churches too.
and an ice skating rink.
Churches.
So Sugar Bush had all kinds of things in Sugar Bush too, and now it's.
Yeah.
Little elementary school that hopefully survives for people like me that go there.
Thanks, everyone. It's fun to share like this.
We got a brainstorm. Otherwise, they're not coming.
All right, well, let me know if any other questions come to mind. You're welcome to contact me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We're on to Chris, I believe.
And then after you're done, I apologize, I was late. Can I just share a few quick things?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, thank you, Bob, sorry. I had just wanted to share, I will just pass around. If any committee members or staff are interested, now is the time of year where we are recognizing our youth and adults for the 4-H year. We had 4-H record books were due back in September, and we did award selection, and we have our awards night coming up Thursday, November 4th. This year it's going to be at the fairgrounds because Manawa School wasn't sure of their COVID protocols. And then our banquet this year, speaking of Clintonville and things north, we were really trying to find a place in Clintonville. Our leaders banquet moves around each year, and we were able to, we're gonna have that North Winds Banquet Hall in Marion. So, and that is Saturday, November 13th is our leaders banquet. And that is where we recognize our adult leaders for the work that they do during the year within the 4-H program. And we have some special leader awards, and then all of the leaders get a half price meal, and we celebrate if you're 5, 10, 15, 20 year leaders, you get a free meal. So variety of ways that we try and share recognition and our thanks with the volunteers that help the program. So that is coming up November 13th. And then, Chris, I don't know if you had the Memphis in your notes or if I should
Go
share.
ahead.
One other thing I had just wanted to share, I'm actually going to a in-person conference. The first one in a long time. So right after the leaders banquet, that following week is our national the professional association where 4-H educators belong. So our National Association of Extension 4-H Youth Development Professionals from across the country. We have a national meeting in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I will be going down there. I'm presenting a poster session about a virtual escape room that we did during COVID. A colleague from Calumet County and I did that together. So we'll be sharing that with colleagues from across the country. And then also just a great opportunity to go to other sessions and meet people that, do similar work across the country and get ideas and share ideas. And part of that trip is also, we are lucky we will be hosting that national meeting in Madison in Wisconsin next year. And so I'm on one of those planning committees. And the last time Wisconsin hosted was in 2006. And so that national conference will be coming back to Wisconsin next year. And so that is exciting to have all of that coming, that we can take advantage of it in our own state. So
Where's that going to be held in Wisconsin?
Madison, the conference itself will be at Monona Terrace down in Madison. Mhm. Yep, and it was in Milwaukee in 2006. Chris and I both helped with that one when it was in 2006 as well. And so it's exciting to have those opportunities, because you don't always get a lot of opportunities to learn from others from all over, so.
And the side note to that is very minimal county expenses. We're leveraging state resources, state professional development dollars to travel. So all of the approvals for Penny to travel out of state are on the state side. This is just felt it was a courtesy to let this committee know that Penny's doing approved out of state travel during November.
And we will be driving, so the expense of flying isn't there as well, and everything is so up in the air, you hate to, so driving is a safe bet right now. I'm riding with colleagues from Winnebago County and Calumet County, so we're gonna road trip together.
Okay, thank you. We're down to Chris.
All right, good morning, and I think I may reorder just for some items that make sense as they go together. I'm going to go to department activities and just do an update on the American Recovery Plan Act, the ARPA fund allocation. So one of the things is now the U.S. Department of Treasury has at least revised its final guidelines on the use of the ARPA funding for counties. Now that doesn't mean that there may not be some revisions. So for the County Board of Supervisors, you're going to have some opportunity. This is going to take up after the budget. This is going to be your next one of your next topics. So there's a steering committee that has been working to try and determine the scope. And I switched away from it, and I just want to give you an overview and where this committee. Nope, wrong. I need to type here. So where I'm trying to send an email, and I don't want to send an email. Okay, so I'll go by memory. There are so the process is in place to solicit ideas, project requests for that will help guide the disbursement plan for Waupaca County. So in addition to Waupaca County receiving a one-time cash infusion, also the larger municipalities, municipalities have also received and are in a similar planning process. So one of the things, there are limits or restrictions to how the funds can be used for improving public health in response to COVID, or to prevent future pandemic type actions. But also there's a strong economic development driver to be able to infuse dollars into infrastructure that's needed, recovery costs because of the pandemic. And I'm summarizing like the high level pieces. The other high level piece is that the county and the municipalities can grant funds to other nonprofit organizations as a way to get funds directly to individuals or other parts of the community that it may be necessary. So here's the process that we've got. In a couple of weeks, the department heads are going to spend some considerable amount of time working through this. There is opportunities for all, both staff and at this point would be county board supervisors to brainstorm or generate ideas. So there's an email that I have that's ready to go to the staff that give the outlines of some of the project or the restrictions or the focuses. They're not restrictions, they're focused spending. And to try and generate a list of potential projects or potential outcomes. And then at some point, the county board of supervisors will have an opportunity to react to that, to the overall plan, as far as this is the proposed allocation of these resources. Now, some of the pieces where, and because of this, we'll talk about this, because there is a desire by the end of the month, so prior to the end of this, not the end of this month, but prior to the end of this year, so December 31, there is, that's the timeline for at least approving the preliminary priority list for the disbursements for the projects. Because of that, when we talk about our next monthly meeting, that'll be part of why we may want to at least hold a date in either late November or December, in case there is an opportunity to inform or educate projects that may potentially have an extension connection that you may want more information about, whether before you go to go to the county, the appropriate county board meeting. Couple of things, for example, one of the areas that is to help with economic development or overall area growth, one of the key factors that's tied to it is the availability of quality childcare. And you have heard both Jessica and Sandy share with you how they are working to support or try to educate, and Jessica specifically educate with support from Sandy, and Sandy with her initiating the early childhood network are trying to support those caregivers so that community, because the better quality childcare, the more likely individuals are to move into an area, especially if they have young families and take jobs in these communities. So not exactly sure what is as far as what the project might be, but that's an example of how, Sandy and Jessica and the rest might say, hey, we suggest or we nominate this type of a project, or it might be support for an existing nonprofit group or agency that has the capacity to then be able to create positive change in those areas. So we're not necessarily, are we going to be spending the money? Maybe we will, but we're using our networks, our connections through nonprofits and other community organizations to be able to try and support them to be able to be ready to utilize these funds if they're selected. So the childcare one, I'm not like foreseeing, I'm not selling it on you, but that's an example of a type of thing. So so that may be something. I just wanted to share what the process was. It's gonna ramp up here pretty quickly to try and as the planning process, the planning implementation needs to be in place. And then the funds have to be dispersed before, I believe, the end of 2023. So there's time, but the plans need to be in place. The other piece that I know is happening, and this is consistent among other areas, is that there are conversations amongst the municipalities in the Waupaca County area that are how to then, are there ways to not just, this is my territory, this is my pot of money. It's are there opportunities for collaboration to multiply the impact of these funds? Because this is a one-time shot, so they're trying to be smart with the resources, but also not committing to ongoing financial commitments that would be, like replace a budget item in 2022 that then would have to be paid for in 2023, 24, 25, and 26. So not to create a financial burden, to kick that can down the road. So I just wanted to just give you an update. If it's okay with you, I'll both the staff and I'll include the committee with the email that I'm going to send, which is the details to know what the focus is of the funding. Many of you have already heard and have heard tidbits, but now we're actually getting into a decision-making place here in Waupaca County. So one of the things on here that I listed was Extension Ag staffing updates, and I know that Ken, you were in attendance at the Finance Committee meeting. I saw you.
Pay attention.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to say, so I was requested to provide an update to the Finance Committee at their last meeting regarding ag staffing, the ag staffing plans and updates, and also presented some information relating to the options. And I just wanted to just share a couple of thoughts. This was the same shared staffing model that had been shared with you, with just some very minor tweaks as the proposal has shifted. The one thing that I want to share with you is that the feedback from the Finance Committee, I'm going to do a real quick math, is that the cost of the shared positions on the shared contract, or co-funded, I should say, co-funded, meaning that the Division of Extension is contributing to a portion of the position. That flat fee is $43,600 for 2022. So looking ahead, and there will be a 3% increase in 2023 to also match the cost of living increases that are going on at the state side. So that's the math, and as the regional positions are, the size of the region determines what the portion of the fee that each of the participating counties will pay. So, for example, the $43,600, if there are 2 counties in a region with a co-funded position, then that amount would be $21,800 each. And so on and so forth. Some of the regions are a little bit bigger, which get to smaller numbers across the larger geographic area, or larger counties, smaller financial contributions going into this. One of the things that was shared is that and I'm working on trying to find, and I have some information. The members of the Finance Committee at this time, or initially, do not feel that there may not be a need in Waupaca County to invest in a regional dairy educator. And one of the things that I'm still pulling together information, but in Waupaca County economically, dairy is the #1 agricultural industry in the county. So milk sales account for almost $96 million of value of annual impact, with cattle and calves that are directly related to the direct industry at almost $18 million. So close to $120 million impact, whereas the crops and soils and hay and other crops would be about $35 million in actual cash sales. So when you look at the value, the dairy industry is still important. So even though the number of farms are reducing in size, the impact of the dairy industry is, I should say, the number of farms is decreasing in number, but not in size. Apologize for that. The farms aren't getting smaller, farms are getting efficient in their own way. So one of the things looking forward and as we go, since that time, since the time that we have met last, there's now a vacancy in Winnebago County with their ag educator position with a recent resignation. So with there are two things with Winnebago. There are two primary things that Winnebago County and Waupaca County share. The one, they share a common border, so geographically they're similar, and at least the northern and the northeastern portion, or the bulk of the county, still matches up with Waupaca County as far as agricultural production and a focus with dairy, forage or grain crops, or corn for forage. There is a portion of Winnebago County, but then it's also the same for Waupaca County, that starts to get up close to the central sands, in which there might be some reaches of vegetable production or cabbages, as we've had the opportunity to see some recent fields harvested lately, or at least I have. So one of the things that I'm working with, in fact, I've been exchanging messages or working over the past few days with Heidi Johnson, the Ag Institute director, and we're still working on a couple, finding a internal candidate, or seeing if an internal candidate is interested in one of the regional crops educators, as that would aid that process moving forward. But also, I would like to move forward with it and continue exploring, including Waupaca County as a regional dairy educator, and providing our producers and those in that agricultural community that opportunity to connect to those resources. We may be able to do a slightly larger region, county-wise, that might include 4 or 5 counties, and which, if we were able to do 4, that would be just under $11,000 investment, and 5 counties would be about $8,700. So that's using the math of the fixed county. As I had also shared, so anyway, I would like to continue working through that, and the current. In each of the scenarios that I've described, the current 2022 budget proposal does have the funding available to be able to support those positions to 2 regional positions at 1/2. So there's still $43,600 allocated. So there is still, even if Winnebago and Waupaca need to start with a joint 2-county region for both, there's still, if we can get the opportunity to request a bill, we still have the financial resources to be able to do that, included in the 2022 budget, proposed budget that you'll be acting on, hearing tomorrow, and then the vote's in a couple weeks.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Greg Blondie.
Yep.
What did his job title, what categories, what field was he in?
Farm management. Farm management was his primary, and farm management is so one of the things that I'm going to be for a couple of ways. I've had the question, why can't we just hire another Greg Blondie? So the short answer is because they don't exist. I'm not saying that they don't exist at the county level in extension right now, because farm management is a highly specialized area, and not that they don't exist, but at a county regional educator point of view. The connections to farm management, succession planning, other enterprise pieces, by investing in extension regional educators, we have opportunities to refer and have connections to the farm management team, which I believe the farm management team has statewide. They're led by an individual named Tricia Wagner. She manages that group, and they provide statewide programs, statewide overview. I think there's 4 or 5 of them that are part of that team, they're dispersed geographically, but they serve the state. So that's one reason. The other reason why replacing like Greg Blondie is difficult is that the agriculture industry has changed. Greg and his counterparts, and I would even argue, myself from back in the day, in which you knew a little about a lot of different things, and you were expected to be able to do that. And moving forward, that's not what our agricultural producers are looking for. They're looking for multiple people that have much more deep content knowledge about specific about their content area.
I think I attended at the state conference, extension had one of the sessions explaining a little more, and there's gonna be like 6 or 7 specialists for the whole state,
Yes,
but they're not gonna be in Madison, they're gonna be
correct.
spread around, so.
And that's right. They're well, and so here's a couple. So so if we have a crops, these are regional extension educators. There's also going to be regional or statewide outreach specialists, and so they will support. That's further adding to those connections that our regional educators have to be able to connect in and have access to that expertise. One of them is a water quality, so water quality beef. So we don't think about beef as being, Wisconsin is a huge beef state, and it may not be. However, if you switch the focus to dairy beef and look at our dairy animals that are being processed, we're actually a pretty strong. So that's part of that cattle and calves of Waupaca County, in which the $17.7 million in agricultural sales. So there's access to those. That's part of building out further that network that will further allow those connections. So the investment. Now that's not to say. So nowhere in here has anyone in Waupaca County said we're not investing at all. It's just a matter of, hey, we don't think we need to invest here, and we need to, or we should invest there. By having an investment, you're going to have access to those statewide and regional outreach specialists. So that's the good thing. And I still looking at the agricultural data, and still want to present the opportunity or the suggestion of investing in a dairy educator, an outreach, a regional dairy educator, to allow the individuals of Waupaca County to connect, or also the service professionals that are supporting those dairies in Waupaca County, and in the grand scheme of things, the near surrounding area. Any questions or comments, or maybe, and Dennis, you attended other additional thoughts or perspectives that you had after listening to the workshop or the presentation that they provided?
That was the main thing, I think.
Okay.
But I think
Yes.
you'd be surprised how many beef growers are just in Waupaca County.
Yeah.
Compared to what we were years ago.
And I think that's gonna continue because of the way the large companies are handling the prices and stuff.
And right now, the problem with beef growers in this area is that there's not enough butcher shops.
Yeah.
Correct. And that is a known issue, not one that there's a clear, not one that there's a clear pathway yet. However, the quantity of beef production can help provide some opportunities, or for some opportunities for collaboration. We don't have a date, but it is hoped that the beef specialist, the statewide beef outreach specialist, as part of the team, will be able to help part with some of those solutions. One of the other individuals that, and the nature of that position is a little bit differently, but Sarah Grochin is a dairy and livestock educator in Outagamie County, and she's been working on some local issues. And down the road, there might be some flexibilities, if there are some flexibilities to allow her to continue that work, to go to a slightly broader community, but still maybe focused on this area. So that's another possibility, and that's also so I just wanted to share with you what I'm still working, and I don't necessarily have a proposal. This is what we're going to do. Although we are moving with the vacancy that does allow in Winnebago County, and both of the counties do have a need for crops and soils, or crops educator, partially because that supports both not only the cash grain, but also the forage that feed all of those critters that are going into the milk in the dairy industry. So working on that. I'm hoping to, I still have some meetings this week with folks, but I'm hoping to have something more solid by, well, every time I say by the end of the week, it never happens. So I'll say by next week, moving forward.
I just have one
Yes.
comment. I want to apologize that I'm bringing up, but I have to leave here at 9:45. I got a funeral.
Sorry about that. And I am almost done with my portion. So I think we should be able to make that. So the other piece is just an overview. Amy and I are 2021 budget. So just going back with our current year budget, Amy and I are staying up on top of things and working with educators to make sure that we have appropriate spending with the supplies that we need. Sometimes things happen, like a refrigerator dies, and so we actually had an opportunity. Amy and Annette was the one who took the lead on that, to upgrade our freezing and cooling capabilities in our office. So one of the primary reasons, or a primary reason, is to provide some support to our Foodwise, as they are getting back into the schools, having the opportunities to provide sample size tastings of their nutrition offerings. So that happens. It's occasional penny pulling together for camp or other activities, some refreshments. Not gonna lie, I appreciate putting my lunch in there so my sandwich doesn't get a little bit nasty.
This room is frequently.
Yes.
Eating shelf, so we
Yep.
used to use this refrigerator, but we couldn't interrupt the interview or
Right.
something, so. it's
So it
really
made-
handy to have.
Yeah, it made sense to be able to do that and upgrade and use the space that we have. So, but because the staff is diligent and we're working with overall responsible for the budget, we have the funding to be able to purchase a unanticipated expense like that. So continuing to move forward on that. And then I just put on 2022 budget in case there were any questions. Tomorrow you have your special meeting for the hearing, the reading of the budget. I just wanted to I'll let this committee know. I've also let Heidi Dabrowski and Jill, county clerk, be aware that I do have a meeting conflict. I have the Allegheny County Ag and Extension Committee is meeting on their regular date at the exact same time. And we do have some similar financial related and other conversations that I need to be part of. So I likely will try to take the meeting from this building in case there are any questions, but if they're still remote. So they are still meeting remote. But I may not be in attendance with at the meeting. I just wanted to let you know that. Last year, I do recall that I had 4 screens going on that particular day, in which I had our home computer and iPad, because there were 3 meetings that I was supposed to be in attendance at. And what I really learned is that if you're trying to attend more than one, you're actually not attending any. So I'm trying to be very thoughtful and trying to be present. And there have been a lot of opportunities for me to answer questions. Plus, I had the opportunity to share the update with the finance committee. I think that last week, or I think it was last week, Or is it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks.
Okay, so time flies when you're having fun. So,
I forgot to.
okay, so that's all I have, but if there's any other questions or comments, I would suggest that we hold our regular November 29th meeting date, because of the potential for the ARPA funding, if there's any comment and action. That would be prior to your December regularly scheduled County Board of Supervisors meeting. I would also like to hope that I will have some updates regarding ag staffing at that point. And then we would hold that, and if none of those things hold true, Bob, you and I can touch base and we can decide if we would like to cancel or if we would like to move into, the only other date would be December 20th. I believe the regular meeting date in December would be a recognized holiday. So the December 20th would be the other 2021 meeting date if the calendar will allow, but I'm going to guess that there aren't going to be a lot of opportunity for action then, but we could look at that if we needed to. So that would be my recommendation for this group, is to hold that November 29 date in case we have something, in case we have a couple items to act on.
Okay. Okay. I think we have covered everything on our agenda. Am I correct?
Yeah. Christie has an update, Bob?
Sure, go ahead.
Was gonna sneak in after Penny, but I wanted Chris to make sure he got what he needed. As you're walking in the front entrance of the courthouse, you might see a big table, food wise, it's helping support Foundations for Living in a food drive for the holidays. So if you happen to want to grab a flyer or looking to donate some food for a food drive this year, we're collecting specific items to go towards a food bundle. So Foundations for Living had $2,400 through a grant to buy turkeys, and so we're complementing those turkeys with some holiday food, special food that will make a green bean casserole and stuffing and gravy. And then the second part of that is that we're also helping nominate families. So I'll make sure that in the minutes, if you didn't already get a countywide email, I'm not sure if you would be included in that, but in our meeting minutes that I'll ask Amy to attach our flyer. So if you know any families who may be in need this time of year to just receive a little something special, a turkey and a few other holiday foods that they may just not be able to get them themselves, or just would really, make their holiday season if they can have a little extra something. There's a form you can fill out electronically to nominate a family to receive this food that we're collecting as well. So if you're wondering what that table is, that's what that is out there. We're collecting the food for the food drive, and then also kind of behind the scenes collecting the families to receive the food.
Okay,
That does not require a special, like you don't have to be on SNAP funding or anything
No,
like
there's
that.
no eligibility requirements to be a nominee to receive the food. Yeah. We're looking to collect 150 nominations, and as of Friday, we only had 9, so I would really encourage you to. I mean, it's only been going on for a week, and it's a little early. We started it early just so we could give ourselves a week before Thanksgiving to assemble the bundles. So our mind's not thinking of Thanksgiving quite yet, but it's just around the corner. The county, yeah, it's not exclusive to Waupaca. Yep. Thank you.
okay, well, thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
I didn't mean to push her.